And welcome to another edition of the Sideline Report. Here, Oliver Maroney from Basketball Insiders, and joined with me today, Jamie Hudson, per usual, I guess you could say.
How's it going, Oliver?
Not too bad. How are you?
Good. Let's just mention your Craig Sager shirt.
Yes, Craig Sager.
Sager. That is so cool. I love that you were wearing that shirt.
I had to. I mean, first of all, his family. Prayers out to his family. Thoughts are with his family, obviously. His son, he's got a couple of daughters as well.
Yep.
So I can't imagine what they're going through. Like, seriously, he's an inspiration for all of us.
Especially working in the media, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've always looked up to him, and
oh, yeah.
I've loved his crazy outfits. Those are the best.
Great.
How can you not love them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the interviews. I mean, he comes in these interviews, and Pop is not responding properly or not the way you want to, and it's almost. I looked at it and I thought to myself, it's got to be embarrassing, and he doesn't look at it that way at all. I mean, Craig was great. He responded very, very valiantly with tough situations, and it just shows his true character.
Definitely does. Dying today at the age of 65
Yes.
after battling leukemia.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to the Sideline Report and what we want to talk about. We've got some fun topics today.
I know.
What do you want to start with first?
So the All-Star Weekend is around. Well, first of all, let's go to the Blazers really quick. Let's just talk about how their season's going right now.
Yes.
They stand a couple of games below 500, if I'm not mistaken.
One now.
Yeah. They were two. Yeah, they get the big win over Oklahoma City. It seems like they turned a corner, right? We'll see what happens. How have you seen, this Blazer team has progressed, digressed. It's kind of interesting. It's just a bunch of different scenarios, I guess you could call it. So what do you take from the first 25 games or so?
You're right, though. It's been kind of like a roller coaster ride, right?
Up and down.
There's
Very Jekyll
great,
and Hyde.
yes, great first halves, and then the second half, not so much.
Yeah.
But in the last couple of games, we've talking about the Clippers game and talking about that big win over Oklahoma City.
Yes.
How about Mason Plumlee? Plumlee has been the guy that has turned it up on both ends of the floor. He's found this new spark or something,
It's
Oliver.
incredible.
And if that can continue,
Yep.
He's having a block party. He's scoring like 18 points a game.
Yep.
That's something that I think has been huge for this team.
It's been very good. We've talked about it all season long. They need a rim protector.
Yes.
They need the guy in the paint. They need the post presence. If Plumlee can be this guy through the season, are we really looking at any trades? That doesn't make much logical sense. The way that they've played the past two games, as you mentioned, the loss to the Clippers was a valiant loss. They gave it their all. They played all four quarters, very, very tough, against a very, very good Western Conference team. Yeah. And then you turn it around on a back-to-back, get back into town around 2 a.m., or if you're Myers Leonard and have to take an Uber, it's 3 a.m.
Right.
Then
I hate when you lose your car keys. That's so not nice.
Yeah, if nobody knows, Myers Leonard supposedly lost his keys,
Yeah.
and so he was sitting at the airport waiting for an Uber. Or somebody to give him a ride, I don't know who.
Right.
But, they come back 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning, get up, go and play the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it was the best performance I've seen this season. By a long shot. You leave Russell Westbrook with just 20 points.
Yeah.
They don't look good at all. They made the Thunder look very, very marginal at best. Really. Both sides of the floor, they were dominating. And that's what we like to see from this Portland team, obviously. But they just look like a different team in the past two games. Now, whether that can continue throughout the season is still way up in the air. Obviously, we've seen this team look good in stretches here and there. They start a road trip really hot, and then they start to just tail off losing games. So where do they end up, I don't know, but it's very promising.
It is very promising. And my whole thing is, what about these third quarters? That seriously has become a thing where the Blazers can't get anything going in the third quarter, coming out of halftime.
Yeah, it's interesting because I look back to, I think it was maybe the first year Dame and Aldridge were together. I think it was Dame's rookie year. And the team had a losing record, but I think they must have had, I want to say 10 or 15 games where they were within a couple of points at halftime. And in the third quarter, you just saw this stretch of confusion. Like the team didn't know what they were doing, if they were just, the legs were rested a little too long, you didn't know what was going on. And then obviously the next year they do better and they make the playoffs and the whole thing. But it's very interesting to see kind of the progression from first quarter to second quarter and then halftime. Is it something to do with halftime, or is the halftime speech not getting to all the players? There's got to be some questions there, but Over the past 2 games, obviously, it's looked a little different.
Yeah, it's looked better. But I'm wondering maybe this Blazers team just doesn't need a halftime. Let's just keep on playing,
just
right?
Play.
Yeah.
Just play through it. 30-second water break.
Yeah,
go out
that's
and
all.
just, come on, let's get it done. Come on.
You're good.
Yeah, so the second topic I really wanted to talk about was on to All-Star Weekend. Now, All-Star Weekend is a while away.
It'll be here before we know it.
It will be. It will be. Just a couple months away. But, you know, I think it's always fun to pick, like, who could be in the dunk contest, who could be in the three-point contest. All the ancillary things aside from the actual All-Star game itself. And so for that reason, I wanted to play a little Blazers version of this All-Star pick. Okay?
Nice.
So what I'd like to do is I'll say my pick, you say your pick, and we'll basically go through which Blazer you would want in a three-point contest. And let's go even one step further. Which 2 Blazers would you want paired up against each other in these competitions?
Okay.
So choose 2 Blazers. That would be, let's start with the three-point competition.
Okay.
And then we'll move to the dunk competition and skills.
All right. Well, of course, I mean, Dame and CJ want to come to mind. But how about, I'm going to put CJ McCollum up against Allen Crabbe. Because the three-point contest is so different than actually getting into the flow of a game, right? I mean, you're picking it up from a rack, and you got to go down and get your ball. It's not like you're getting that perfect pass where you're all set. And your legs can get real tired. I mean, that's a lot.
And you
it's
got
a
the
lot.
clock.
You're fighting the clock, you're right. So I think it'd be fun to see a little 3J and AC going up against each other.
Interesting. So I've got a little different side of things.
Yeah.
I would really like to see, I like to see the outskirts guys. I would like to see Harkless against Leonard.
There you
A
go.
little intrigue there. A little taller, right? So you may have to raise the size of the rack. Just so they're not like bending down vigorously. But, you know, Harkless, Leonard. Leonard's a good three-point shooter. He can hit them when he wants to. And I think, especially when he's open, it seems like he's better or more capable. So,
I think he'd have a tough time with the clock, though.
He may have a tough time. That release is pretty slow.
Slower release. Yeah.
We'll add like, instead of like, 45 seconds, we'll go to like a minute and a half.
Okay, like there you go.
There we go. So we'll move on here. I like the picks, by the way, CJ and Crabbe. I think that's good. I'm surprised both of us left Dame off the list, but I think we just want to spread the love a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I would like to talk about the dunk competition, and I think this one is probably the most intriguing if you're a Blazers fan or somebody that is watching the Blazers, just because I think there's a lot of players that you could choose for this.
Okay, 2 are coming to mind right now.
Okay.
Because who doesn't want to see Plum Dog Millionaire, Mason Plumlee,
there you go,
try and do this contest? But after that 360 dunk from Evan Turner a couple games back,
pretty impressive.
It was impressive. He was feeling it.
Yep.
I mean,
Against
I
his
could
old
see,
team.
right? I could see ET loving the dunk contest. So
ET for president. I could definitely see it. Both those players are very athletic. I think they're sneaky athletic. I don't see Plumlee. You know, Plumlee's pretty versatile. He's mobile. He can get up and down the court. He has some impressive dunks. He had one against Oklahoma City. I think it may have been the dunk of the night on CSN, if I'm not mistaken. But and then you look at a guy like Evan Turner. He did a 360 dunk not too long ago. What could he kind of pull out of his bag of tricks? So the guys that I would want to see would be probably Pat Connaughton. He had the second highest recorded vertical, I think, in the draft when he was coming into the season.
Right.
So he's got some sneaky good hops.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see the other, draftee from this offseason, Jake Lehman.
That's a good
I'd like
call.
to see both of those guys go neck and neck against each other. I think it would be really fun to watch.
Yeah.
And they're very comparable players. I mean, they do a lot of the same things, so I think it'd be fun to watch.
Yeah, no, I agree. And shouldn't you have like all the other players, the Blazer players, judging? So,
that would be
you could
way
have
better.
Damian
Dame
Lillard
and CJ should be the judges of this thing.
holding
That'd be
up
a
those
very
scores.
good thing. I think that'd be fun. I think that'd be good. I think CSN needs to really look into this.
Okay, let me write that down. I'm gonna work on that. That's cool.
So next would be the skills competition. Nobody really watches the skills competition. It's a little bit on the back burner.
That's true.
It's gotten better over the years, but now they've inserted guys like Karl Towns, a big man, stuff
which
like
has
that.
made it more interesting.
Yeah, definitely interesting. So I think that would be interesting. I guess let's mix this one up a little bit. What is the pairing you'd like to see of players on the Blazers that would pair up in the skill challenge against other NBA talent.
Okay.
So if you're going to send two
pick
guys,
a big, yeah.
Pick a big and a small, I guess, in the skills challenge that would be best suited for this if you're sending them off to All-Star Weekend. Not pitting them up against each other this time.
Right. Okay. They're going up against somebody else.
Carl Anthony Towns,
okay.
Andrew Wiggins.
I mean, right. I think Mason Plumlee, because I talk about how he could be point guard at his size at times.
Got it.
Some people are like, really? But he is. He's a distributor. He takes it up the court, no problem. He's confident in that. I mean, probably you gotta go with Damian Lillard on this, right? You have to.
I think so. I mean, I think there's some sneaky little picks that you could throw in there, but realistically, it's Damian Lillard. I think Shabazz Napier would be a decent option as well. I think that he's pretty precise with his passing. You know, when you look at the skills competition, it's like, how good of a dribble can you get? How close can it be to your hand? How quick can you go down and up the court? How quick can you... everyone thinks about the passing through the tire drill.
That's a little more difficult
really
than people think.
Yeah. And Dame's a distributor, don't get me wrong. He's got great passing ability. But I think Shabazz Napier may be pretty good. That little finesse-y.
That's a good call.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like it. Well, you guys have to let us know here on
let us know anytime.
Yeah, Twitter, whatever.
Whatever
Facebook.
Works. You can follow her at Jamie Hudson CSN.
Oh, thanks, Oliver.
There you go.
Yeah, and it's O Maroney.
O Maroney NBA.
Yeah. There it is.
Threw that on the end of it. So.
It's a good one.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
So.
Yes.
Last bit here that I want to discuss. Trades. Everybody's talking about him. It's a big deal, right? DeMarcus Cousins, Hassan Whiteside.
Yeah.
People Nerlens now talking about Nerlens Noel. Right? Yeah, that's the big one. Everybody's like, oh yeah, let's go out, let's do it. If you're the Blazers and you have to make a move, okay?
Okay.
We'll start with if you have to. Which guy do you want and why? And then secondly, you're the team GM. So which guy do you want, keeping in mind that you're going to have to give up quite a bit? Sorry, Blazer fans that think you can get DeMarcus Cousins for Allen Crabbe and Harkless or something. That just won't happen. Sorry.
Right.
So keep in mind that.
Okay. So I'm putting my GM
hat on. GM hat.
Yeah.
GM Jamie Hudson.
Right.
Listen
up. No, you know, Nerlens Noel is too scary for me. Why you want to bring in a guy that has knee problems?
Yeah.
The Blazer fans, I think.
They don't need it.
No. Blazers don't need it. To get DeMarcus Cousins, now I have said on the scoop that I am all for bringing Boogie Cousins in. I really think that Damian Lillard's relationship with him will help, that he wouldn't be this crazy cancer in the locker room that everyone talks about. Plus, Coach Stotts, with being the relationship he has with players, I think you could tame DeMarcus Cousins. However, then that means you're probably going to have to give up C.J. McCollum. And do people want to do that? I mean, Cousins' numbers would be nice. But I'd say go with someone a little less superstar-y than DeMarcus Cousins and keep your core together, because this core down the road it's going to look really nice. It already looks nice.
Yeah.
But it's going to be really nice when you have the duo of Dame and CJ and then add in that big three.
Yeah. Definitely. And is there anyone in particular that you could think of, you know, on that under-the-radar kind of scale? Rim protector is probably what we're assuming here is what the Blazers need. Anyone there?
I mean, there's a couple of guys. Sometimes I think about Kenneth Faried, because I don't think you'd have to give up too... Yeah, the Manimal.
You wouldn't have to give up too much because he's been on the trade block for like 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be nice. And he brings that intensity. Or, I mean, Denver has so many bigs.
Yeah, and Denver has cap space. They've got a ton of cap space.
That's true. That's
they actually are not at the cap floor. So if they're going to not get taxed, because if anybody doesn't know out there, if you're not at the cap floor by, I believe it's February, the deadline or whatever that is, then you are taxed, and GMs have to fork out some extra money as well. So there could be some extra incentive for Denver to do a deal where the salaries don't match up. You know, a Faried for a Crabbe, for instance. I'm not saying that would happen. I'm not saying that. I'm not suggesting that. Please, you know, hold off on the bad remarks there. But you know, the salaries don't have to match up for you to be able to get somebody like that.
But Denver has got a lot of nice bigs.
Oh,
Jokic, Nurkic. I mean, you can go down the list. And
all the nicknames. Oh, yeah.
right?
Or all the rhyming words, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
Nurkic, Jokic, yeah.
I don't think that'd be a bad team to look at. But really, when I think about it, I think the Blazers are going to need to go with an Eastern Conference team because usually those kind of trades work out better. That way you're not playing this team 4 times a year, and so they're more willing to be like, oh, yeah, I'll give you this guy for him or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that logically makes sense. I'm very hesitant if I'm a GM or if I'm looking around the league. It just, to me, look, you've got a young core, as you mentioned. You don't really want to break this thing up. Olshey talks about it all the time, the continuity within this team, the chemistry within this team. And I think the most underrated part about the league right now is teams that can stay in the playoff hunt for 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 years. Now, you may not be a championship contender in all those years. You may not win a championship. You may not even get to a championship. But if you're telling me you'd rather have 6 bad seasons and then win a championship and go back to bad seasons, or let's say a fringe playoff team, go to a championship contender, risk all your future and go back to that 8, 9, 10 seed, somewhere in there, I just don't think it's worth it. And I think it's very underrated. You talk about a team like the LA Clippers. They've been in contention in the Western Conference for a long time, and people say, blow this thing up, blow this thing up, right? Look, I am on the opposite spectrum of that. And I've come around to it. It's like, look, this Clippers team is great to watch. They're fun to watch. They're enjoyable. They have all the pieces necessary to be able to contend. And they probably won't be winning a championship, but they've given themselves a good enough shot, an outside chance to get into that championship conversation. And if everything falls right, they can win one and still be good the next season or the season after that. So for that reason, I'm pretty hesitant on making a move. If I was to make a move, I've mentioned it multiple times, all the time, Andrew Bogut is the guy I would want on this team every single day of the week. I think that is the perfect fit. And you're not going to have to give up too much, I don't think. Dallas is on the other end of the spectrum here. I think they're kind of realizing it's coming to an end. I think Dirk Nowitzki even mentioned potential retirement after the season. There's just some things there that make logical sense to where Dallas would want to ship off a veteran, a guy who's been known to be very good in the locker room, very good rim protector, underrated pick and roll guy as well. Worked very well with the same sort of duo, as Dame and CJ with the Warriors. So I think there's a lot.
That would work out nice.
I think there's a lot of comparisons you can make to that, and I think that would be a reason to go get him. What you give up to get him, I have no idea. You have to obviously get salary back to them, so you'd have to give up something. But I think Dallas would definitely be intrigued with a young player like a Crabbe or like a Leonard, and I don't think you're giving up, a ton if you're giving up one of those guys.
One thing with Bogut, then, okay, so he's 32, which, that's not old, especially when I think about what I'm going to be this year. But anyways, we're not talking about that. But this young core, I think it's a great idea to bring in a veteran, but then, so you look into the future, and I mean way into the future, then, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying for sure. We do have a ton of young players, though. I mean, when you look at this, it's like, it's a roster
need a
of 22
veteran
or 23
who has
guys.
That playoff experience. I mean, he has a lot of it.
I'm not saying get rid of CJ, Dame, Allen Crabbe, Harkless. Just even getting rid of one of those guys won't really affect, obviously, I think, the projected value of this team, even in the future. I mean, if you have to give up something to get Bogut and he becomes a free agent after next year.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Or whatever the case. I don't even know if he's a free agent next year. But I think it's a 2-year or something like that. Okay. Pretty short deal.
Right.
He can leave. Go right ahead. I mean, the other thing is that you've got a guy like Mason Plumlee that is going to be a free agent in the offseason. How much do you pay him? I mean, there's got to be some things that are going to be...
A lot of question marks coming into this free agent.
Definitely.
Or off-season.
Off-season, yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of question marks anyways. We brought back pretty much everybody that we had last year, which is very uncanny for an NBA team. You just don't see it very often where teams are like, yeah, sure, CJ McCollum, we're going to pay a max contract, or close to. Allen Crabbe, here you go, $18 million. Evan Turner, come on in, let's do it. So it's a little bit different situation than most NBA teams, I think.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm looking forward to the new year.
Once
January comes, this Blazers schedule gets lighter. I mean, there's more home games. Things aren't as rough. And typically, we know in the last, couple seasons, 3 seasons, they do better in that second half of the season.
So there's only just another informational kind of stat piece here. There's only, I believe it's 2 teams in the Western Conference right now who have played over 14 road games, and the Blazers are one of them.
Yeah.
So, you know, people can really, really harp on the fact that the Blazers have a losing record and they're not playing up to snuff and they may not make the playoffs, but I would really tamper that down a little bit. Just look at what the schedule has been like. It's a lot rougher than most NBA team. Oklahoma City will probably be on the downfall if you can see their record as well and how many games they've played on the road. I think they've only played 10 or 9, so it's like, look, in comparison, there's miles difference here. Specifically when you talk about the back-to-backs the Blazers have played, the road trips that they've been on. It's not just like one game here, let's go fly to Chicago. It's like, hey, let's go to Chicago, Milwaukee, Cleveland, and then go back-to-back from Milwaukee to Cleveland or whatever.
Right,
you know,
it's so hard. Portland's way up here. They're not
most
close
miles
to
traveled
any
in the NBA.
teams.
That's a reason. So, yeah, I mean, I think that does it for the Sideline Report today. It's been great joining you, and obviously fun times ahead. So we'll have another Sideline Report to you probably within the next 3 to 4 weeks or somewhere in that time frame.
That sounds good. Good plan. All right, thanks, Oliver.
Thanks for joining us, and have a good rest of your day.